Right, so welcome. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to present today's topic, which is open educational resources and copyright. It's an amazing topic, and I would like to think that we'll have part two of this session. It's really amazing. I hope you are going to find it as interesting as I am. Now, let's get started with this question. Have you heard about some of these terms? Open access, open content, open courseware, open software, open educational resources, and many more open things. There are so many open this, open that, open e-learning, open education. Have you heard about any of these terms and what do they mean to you? Let's start with the first question. Have you heard about some of these terms?
Yeah, I just want to say something.
Yes, please go ahead.
The I think maybe I've tapped into open content and open educational resources unaware. So it's good that you are bringing all this so that we can get the understanding. But when you are someone who's a Googler or who searches for information, you tap into a lot of information, and some of it you tap into not knowing that it's open content or open resources. So I wouldn't say I haven't heard about them, but maybe the understanding of what do we really mean about open educational resources and that. So uh, my experience is, I think I did access some of the information, and knowingly or unknowingly that it's open, or there are some copyright issues there. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for your sharing. That's lovely. Obviously, I'm sure all of us in this meeting we have heard of these items as you iterate. Like perhaps you have even used the term, but you're really not sure what it means and what are the differences, or you do have an understanding of what they mean. Anyone else who would like to pick one item and share with us what? So let's look at the first one, open access. Now, when we look at open access, our topic is obviously not about open access, but it's interrelated. Open content, open courseware, open software. Our topic is about open educational resources. So let's look at open access. So open access, I would say the focus is on content sharing, but specifically on scholarly nature kind of, whereby there is no requirement for an open license, right? So that is open access, which later on we will understand that it is interrelated to what we are on about today, open educational resources. Then we move on to our open content. Right. Now here it's open access, which is about sharing. You can share, anyone can share, and then the next person would have access and no copyright requirement on that. And then we come to open content. So open content, it's that content which is freely open to, it can be students. And also, when we are referring to students, it can be students globally. It's not necessarily students of your institution. It's also about sharing as well as collaborating on that particular content with specific people. It could be other practitioners or other educators, or it could be students, right? It's also about using the content in a teaching context. That is open content. It's open to the public. It's also about encouraging others to use open content. It's about making that content knowledge publicly accessible. That is open content. I can go on and on about open content, but the main thing about open content is that it is open content. It is open content to students, it's open content to practitioners, it is open content to educators, teachers. Yeah. Then we move on to open courseware. Similar open courseware, others they like to use their abbreviation, which is OCW. Again, it's the sharing of that particular course. It can be a full course or it can be modules within that particular course. But again, it's freely available and it's for the public. It's for the public to consume. And then we come to open software, right? Open source software. Open source software, again, it's that software which doesn't require you to own a license for that particular software. We do have Office open software and many other open source software which doesn't require you to have a license. Then we come to open educational resources, which we are on about today, and we will be unpacking that in detail. What are open educational resources? Right. Let's move on to, okay, let us think, what is open educational resources? You know that I did not explain earlier on what is open educational resources. I want you to tell me, what do you think is an open educational resource? Again, you can unmute yourself. Let us be comfortable. Remember, the question is, what do you think? It's not what is the correct answer for whatever questions I am asking. It's what do you think? So what do you think is an OER? OER, remember, it stands for Open Educational Resource. So these are other questions that we will be unpacking in this session. So this also serves as our agenda, which is we will look at defining OERs. We will also look at what are the benefits of OERs and what are the disadvantages or the challenges. How do you create OERs? Now, I do have this item of how to create OERs, but this will be dealt with in our part 2, where we show you different tools that you can use to create your own OERs, because it's not all about consumption, but also it's about creating content. And then we also going to look at what are open licenses. Of course, when we talk about OERs, we cannot touch open licenses. Then we will end our session by looking at what is fair use. You know, this is a package. When you speak of OERs, of course, you need to touch on open licenses as well as fair use. Back to our question, what is OER? Anyone who'd like to give it a try? Anyone?
I think it's the educational resources you get online that are not restricted. So meaning anyone who is in need can help themselves without any issues.
Great stuff. Right, that's what I like to think that is Zodumo. Anyone else? Yes, I agree with you, Zodumo, of what you've said, that it's available. if you can help yourself. I like the term you have used, that you can help yourself. So yes, I do agree. Anyone else who'd like to build on what Zotumo has said? All right, so let's move on to our video. I've got a video here. I would like you to pay attention to this video. I'm crossing my fingers that we don't have sound issues or any other video related issues we normally have when we're playing the video on our Google Meet meetings. So here we go. This explains what open educational resources are. Not only that, but it touched a bit about the benefits as well, and how, you know, others think of OERs. What I like about this video is that it's different educators, practitioners, as well as students. All right.
Open education.
Open education.
Open education. Open education is
The future of education. It's user-created content that's happening outside of traditional channels.
It offers the opportunity for everybody to create and to collaborate.
most of the majority are people who do want to learn, but they can't because they don't have the necessity.
I think the essence of education is that people want to continue to learn.
This is education that's delivered to students and individuals as they need it.
In my work, what's important is being able to meet students where they are.
Open has changed copyright because I can now grab a course, change it, make it my own because I know what my students need.
Knowledge deserves to be free.
Ideas and activities and resources that connect where they are and where I need to take them.
Open education is changing the rules. It's only fair. Lots of people whose voices haven't been out there in society because they aren't able to write a book. They aren't able to get published by a publisher to begin to have a voice.
You're not just one teacher in a four-walled classroom. You're one person in a network of ideas and creativity.
Sorry about that. I don't know why it's keep.
They can take learning out of the classroom, out of the four walls, and be in the world.
And then start teaching kids in a lot more different ways, like say maybe through music or art.
Open education is the new definition of fair. As soon as employers start recognizing certificates earned through essentially open online resources, as other schools start recognizing the work that students have done in open education resources.
It's a game changer.
OER stands to really break down those barriers and really disrupt how people in our country and around the world will be learning.
It's about equity.
It's accessible to people in every country, places where people couldn't even afford the price of a pencil.
A lot of people think that open education is about more access to stuff. And it is about more access to stuff, but more importantly, it's about more access to people, more access to tools, and more access to new ways to create education and to do education and to learn. And that's why it's important.
Open education.
It's the new game.
It lets us create.
I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. We're all game changers now.
Right. What was your take? Well, in the interest of time, I'm going to share my own take from the video. One is that, you know, we are not authors like published authors who have credentials to publish books and so forth. Whereas with OERs, anyone can have a voice because you can create content, you can create resources and share those resources with anyone. Right, so you begin to have a voice. The second one which stood out was that comment from one of the students where that young gentleman shared that, you know, teachers get an opportunity to teach kids in more different ways. So it's not one method. So in short, you also get ideas on how on different pedagogical methodologies, which is really amazing. Another gentleman spoke about breaking down the barriers. In terms of breaking down the barriers, we're looking at a situation where you get to learn about other people's experiences. It's not only what you think, it's not only about your own methods, it's not only about how you do things, but you get to learn from other people. You also learn about tools that you can infuse in your classroom so that you break the four walls barriers. The last one, which I really liked, is that it's not only about accessing content. It is about connecting with people. It is about learning new tools. It's also about learning new ways of doing things. Those were my takeaways. I want to be honest with you. These are my takeaways when I was listening to the video. I don't know for, I think I have listened to this video about 3-4 times, but these are my takeaways while I am with you listening to the video. Right, so let us move on. And yeah, right. Let's now look at other definitions other than what we have learned from the video. What is OER? According to Commonwealth of Learning, Commonwealth of Learning defines OER as materials which are offered freely and openly to use and adapt for teaching, learning, development, and research, as you have mentioned earlier on, Zotumo. The word that I like here is that it's freely available. Also, it is adaptable. You can adapt it for teaching and learning. You can adapt it for development. You can adapt it for research. That is Commonwealth of Learning. Right, so let's look at different types of OERs which are available to us. It's the courses, videos, quizzes, games, lesson plans, classroom activities, learning objects, worksheets, journals, textbooks, the podcasts. The list is endless. Images, I think those, images are the most popular OERs available out there. Right, and then let us now move on to what are the challenges and what are the benefits of OERs. Okay. Now, coming to the benefits, let's first look at the benefits on my left-hand side, which is accessibility. Now, in terms of accessibility, like we mentioned earlier on, access, that is free access. We're talking about accessibility in terms of, having it available without having to buy. For example, like I'm trying to think of those students who have access to textbooks like PDF textbooks or ebooks, where they don't need to spend money in buying textbooks. We're talking about low cost, which also relate to that of buying textbooks. Then you save money on that, which then try to close the gaps in terms of the disadvantaged students who do not have enough money to pay or even buy textbooks for their studies. Easy to use, like either face-to-face and as well as online. So in short, they are flexible. Oh, what I also like about the OERs, it's not only it's not only the flexibility, also it's the adaptability of the OERs. Right. Lots of materials out there. It's a whole lot of materials that you have access to, which obviously most of them are online materials. But we're speaking about digital resources, of which you can save those offline. If you don't have bandwidth, like if you are at a place where there is Wi-Fi, you're able to download as much as you need, and then you have access offline. Right. And then what is also really amazing, I think this is the groundbreaking one for the OERs, is that you don't need to reinvent the wheel. If there is a lesson plan out there already made for you, why do you need to do another one? Because what you need to do is to build on, is to improve the existing one. Right, so it's about remixing, it's about repurposing what is already out there without reinventing wheels. Address learning styles. I like that because, in our classroom, we understand as educators that our learners have different, they have a different learning needs. So with the OERs, it addresses these differentiated learning styles. For example, there are students who learns better by hearing, or who learns better by doing. So with the OERs available out there, we've got videos, we've got podcasts, we've got presentations. In terms of presentation, they've got a lot of visuals, or they are multimedia on its own. Also, what I also like is that we have resources which are specifically designed with learners who have disabilities. So in that way, you don't need to be a specialist in designing such content for special needs. So what you really do is to go find those resources from public domain. I mean, the list is endless. I'm sure you can actually share with me more resources, more benefits that you can think of when it comes to open educational resources. Now, obviously, there are disadvantages when it comes to open educational resources. For example, like when you look at the advantages, when you look at an advantage of a lot of materials out there, which then pose a challenge when it comes to evaluating, because it doesn't mean that all OERs are of good quality. You need to evaluate the resource before using it, of which it is time consuming. Also, if you are bombarded with all these resources, you're not sure which one appropriate, which one to select for your use. Obviously, we do have a course at SchoolNet which speaks to selecting and evaluating digital resources. That's very important. Now, in terms of quality, again, we are not sure that all OERs are of a high standard, because I can create content and upload it, and it becomes available to the public. And in terms of the copyrights, I have it open. So in that way, anyone can use it. So anyone can upload and anyone can access it. So in terms of the quality, the proofreading, as well as authenticating that work, it's so that is a challenge. No responsibility to update original material. Like if I've uploaded my PowerPoint presentation, or if I upload this one and then 10 years down the line, I'm not responsible for updating the presentation that I have shared. I'm not liable to do so. So that is a disadvantage, because one who looks at that material and they use it, you'll find that there are certain things which perhaps have become undated. Right, and then it comes to that of student access to technology. Yes, OERs are amazing. They are brilliant. However, one could say, is it not widening the gap because of access? Now, when we speak of access, remember, we are talking about digital resources. Now, when we speak of digital resources, it means a student needs to have a device. And most of our OERs available out there are online, which means students need to have data. Now, that's a challenge, you see? But at the same time, when you look at all these challenges, you'd see that the advantages or the benefits of OERs, they outweighs the challenges. So you cannot say, I'm not going to use it, or it's not worth using it because of these challenges. Right, it's just that we are conscientizing you to be aware of these challenges. And then another challenge is that one of intellectual property issues. In terms of intellectual property issues, you're looking at a stage whereby you upload work, and because it's perhaps it's under Creative Commons, at the end of the day, it's not clear who's the owner of the of that intellectual property, because other people may not attribute your work. Also, when it comes to intellectual property issues, other people are scared to share their work because they think of the money that would not come to them as people use their content and so forth. So those are some of the challenges. Those are some of the challenges. Right. Now, I'd like to hear from you. Do you have any challenges you can think of, or benefits that you'd like to share with us? Anyone? All right, let's move on. No one? All right, so this is a website. There are OER Commons. This is where you can remember earlier on I mentioned that it's not only about access to resources, it's not only about content, but also it's about connecting people. This is the OER Commons website, where you can collaborate with other content creators. You can have access to a wealth of resources. You can also upload your own educational content. Now, what is also nice, look at that. You are able to search by subject, education level, or you can also upload your work according to that. So if you're interested, you can sign up. You can sign up on OER Commons. It's a really a great website to connect, to explore, to create your own content as well, and share with other like-minded educators. There are many more of such platforms. I'm just sharing this one with you. Right, so these are other ones I'm sure you're familiar with, like Khan Academy. I'm sure some of you, if not most of us, they have used Khan Academy. Coursera, it's really amazing for your professional development. There's quite a number of course offerings that you can take on, open to study. So these are all the lists that you can visit. Should you find time, try to start with one or two, explore those, and then you build on your list. Right. So it's not just about sharing these OER sites, but we would like to invite you to join other educators who are also sharing what they know, who are sharing with us their OER sites that they have used or that they are using. So if you'd like to join that community, it's a SchoolNet community. You can use that URL at the bottom, the bit.ly one. Just take a screenshot of this slide so that you later on you can go to this link and add your own you add your own OER sites. Now, when you look at that, when you look at this, let me just go in there as well. When you get to this page, you can see that you will also find yourself other sites which have been included by other educators. So it's the name of the site, the URL. You see steps required to use. This is all about sharing, and then the description so that you don't try to figure out what is this platform about, and comments for those people who have used the platform previously, so they are able to, you can share your comments, whether it's user friendly, what is amazing about that site. Right, back to our presentation. Now, it's again, I want to emphasize this. It's not about consuming. It's not also about being a participant. It's about creating. We want to encourage you to create content. Now, for you to create content, it's easy and simple. We already have OERs out there, resources that you can use to create content. You don't need to start from start from scratch. What you do is you can revise what is already there, you remix it, tweak it, reuse it, also redistribute or retain. So we're looking at these 5 R's for you to get started with creating content. You know, I like, oops, I'm trying to, I like this quotation, which is misplaced in this slide. I like this quotation which says, what is missing is not devices, but the lack of content development. The lack of content is the major barrier that government needs to tackle. You see, as many times we cry over a lack of resources in terms of hardware devices. We need tablets, we need computers, but you know what is really missing is the lack of content development, especially South African content development. When you go to these OER sites, you will find that they are not local. So when you do your remix, you are trying to localize it. So we are extending an invitation to you to create content, to create local content. Right. So where were we? Right. Now, as we encourage you to create content, you should bear this in mind. Whenever you create this content, you automatically own the rights to your intellectual property. Now, this is important. You need to consider licensing your intellectual property. Now, you need to think of, okay, what content do you want to prohibit? Because it doesn't mean that, if you create content, you should always allow it anyhow. So you decide as the author, as the creator of the content, what is it that you want to prohibit? What content do you want to allow? Which then brings us to the which brings us to the copyright to the copyright issues, looking at these 6 Creative Commons licenses. There are 6 of them, right? So I'm going to take this time and quickly or briefly decode these 6 Creative Commons licenses, right? There are ones which are most open and the ones which are least open. Now, what does it mean to say that it's most open? Oh, Shengi. So you mean even if we're talking about open educational resources, and when it comes to Creative Commons licenses, there are ones which are, it doesn't mean, access doesn't mean that you can just use it anyhow, any way you like it. There are legal grounds or there are legal rules that you need to follow, or you need to abide upon as per the authors, right? So we look at the first one, which doesn't form the part of the 6, which is a public domain, right? Now, with the public domain, there's no license required, right? In fact, the OERS sit with public domain. So with the public domain resources, you can redistribute, you can revise, you can remix without attributing source. For example, when you are creating a presentation or when you are creating anything that you are creating and using someone else's work, you can freely use that intellectual property without attributing the source, as long as it is from the public domain. That is the first one. And then we've got the CC BY. The CC BY, that is that type of license. It's called the Creative Commons, which we encourage you to go for that, especially, when it comes to using photographs, finding, especially with the photographs, I always encourage teachers to go for Creative Commons because it's the most common Creative Commons license. Now, with the CC BY, you redistribute, you revise, you remix, but you need to acknowledge the source, right? So you can you can even use it for commercial purposes, the CC, so long as you attribute the source. And then we've got the CC BY SA. The CC BY SA, that is a share alike, whereby you redistribute, you revise, you remix, but you need to use the same license as the original. So if the original license is that of the non-commercial, so you can redistribute, revise, remix, but that work should also be non-commercial because it is share alike, right? And then we go to the CC BY NC, which is non-commercial. With this one, it's you can do whatever you want to do, but not for commercial purposes, right? But again, in fact, for all these licenses, you need to acknowledge the source, right? Right, non-commercial, not for commercial purposes, not for profit. And then we move on to non-commercial share alike, right? With this one, you redistribute, you retweak, you tweak it, you remix, using the same license as the original, but not for commercial use. Ne? Right. Then the non-derivative one, it's this one is restricting. How? Like when you use it, you don't mix, you don't revise, you use as is, ne? And also acknowledge the source. You don't make any changes, no alterations with this one. Then out of all these 6, this is the most restrictive one, the last one, which is the CC by NCND. With this one, you redistribute as is, ne? No alterations, but not for commercial use. Whereas the non-derivative one, you can use it for commercial purposes. It's just that you have to use it as is without changing it while acknowledging the source. So these are the different common licenses that you can decide on when you have created your content, right? Not only to decide on when you have created your content, but also you need to consider these licenses before you use a resource, because you need to follow the license guide as is. For example, let's look at this example. This is the Commonwealth of Learning OERS, where you can also, is there someone who's saying anything? Oh, I thought someone wanted to comment or ask. Right, let's look at this example. This is the Commonwealth of Learning OERS, or a pool of resources. Now, here with this, in this platform or in this site, there are resources, articles, tools, and whatnot. But you need to adhere to the licenses. And the license for this one is Creative Commons by SA. Who can tell me what does it mean? Creative Commons by SA. Anyone? The answer is in front of us. Anyone would like to give it a try? Well, the answer is right in front of us. It's you need to attribute Commonwealth of Learning, right, under the same license, that is share alike. So you can download, you can reuse, you can adapt, you can remix, but you need to acknowledge Commonwealth of Learning, and it should be under the same licensing as Commonwealth licensing. Right. Right. Before we do this activity, I'd like to play a video. Where is my video? Shucks. Okay, let me go find it. I try to download it offline so that I don't have internet issues. I had it in my toolbar, but now it has disappeared. There you go.
In today's digital...
Right. Before I continue playing this video, this video is about fair use. Now, we have talked about Creative Commons licensing. We've talked about access. We've talked about open educational resources. We've talked about remix, reuse, and so forth. Now, it's important to also mention that you need to consider responsible usage, which is fair use. Right. So I'm now going to play this this video, then we'll move on to our activity.
World, it's easier than ever to copy, paste, mash up, remix, download, and publish content. People's writing, artwork, videos, and images can be inspiring, but they're also easy to take without thinking twice. When people treat the internet like a free-for-all, legal and ethical situations can arise. That's why it's important to know about copyright and fair use. It will help you give and receive credit where credit is due. So what's a copyright? Copyright law protects your control over the creative work you make. It requires people to get your permission before they copy, rework, or share what you make. Most things that you find, download, and copy and paste from the internet are copyrighted. That doesn't mean that everything online is on lockdown and can't be used. It can, as long as you check who owns it, get permission to use it, give credit to the creator, buy it if necessary, and use it responsibly, then you're not stealing. Now, there are times when you can use a small part of someone else's copyrighted work without permission or paying a fee. This is called fair use. Fair use only applies when using content in certain instances: schoolwork and education, news reporting, criticizing or commenting, and comedy or parody. Specific guidelines, what we call the 4 points of fair use, must also be followed. First, you can only use a small amount of the work. Second, you have to add new meaning to the work to make it original. Third, you need to rework it and use it in a totally different way. Finally, you have to use it for nonprofit purposes. In other words, you can't make money off of your new creation. No matter what, it's a good idea to give credit to the creator of the work you used. It's just a sign of respect. So what should you do if you find something online that you want to use? As a rule of thumb, check who owns it, get permission to use it, give credit to the creator, buy it if necessary, and use it responsibly, which means judging for fair use. You're a creator, innovator, and inspirer. Think twice about your rights and responsibilities in our online culture, and then pay it forward.
Right. Okay, that's fair use for you. Now let's come to this activity. Let's do it together. Now, a teacher wants you to photocopy a particular popular library book so she can share it amongst the learners. What will you tell her? Here is your colleague. They want you to photocopy a popular library book so that she can share it amongst the learners. What will you tell her? Question number 2. A teacher wants to decorate her classroom. She finds examples of posters online, prints them in color, and laminates them for her walls. How will you guide her? Considering the information that we have shared with you, Let's look at the first scenario. What will you tell the teacher? What will you tell your colleague? Hmm?
We have a response from Leo Goosen.
Mhm.
Says, no ways, it is not allowed.
So, Leo, you would say, no ways, I'm not doing that, it is not allowed. And then they would stare at you and say, I mean, what do you mean it's not allowed? Why? What would be your response? This poor lady doesn't understand why you say it's not allowed. Why is it not allowed? Anyone who'd like to help Leo? I'm sure he's writing, but anyone is free to share. Why is it not allowed? Please feel free to.
You cannot copy a whole book. That's Leo's response.
Yes, definitely. You cannot copy the entire book. It's not fair use. We've just spoken about fair use. You cannot copy the entire book. Right, let's move on to the next one. A teacher wants to decorate her classroom. She finds examples of posters online, prints them in color, and laminates them for her walls. How will you guide her to do this properly? So one of the advice with that, search for Creative Commons one, right? Search for the posters which bears Creative Commons. What else? What else? Remember, even the Creative Commons one, you need to attribute, isn't it? You need to acknowledge the source, except for the public domains. So to search for public domains, you can type public domains posters, ne? And then all the public domains one would pop up. Then you can freely use those without even having to acknowledge the source. Right. So that is our little activity for today. What we are not going to cover in today's session is that section on how to create OERs. The reason for that is because we don't want to do this hastily. We don't want it to be information overload. With this section, it's a practical one where we take you through, we will share with you different resources that you can possibly create. And we do a demonstration of how to create perhaps one or two. Like you can create a blog, you can create a video, you can create animations. There's quite a number of things that you can create as the content. So we will take you through the tools also that you can consider in creating those tools and make it more exciting for your students if your audience is that of students. Right, so we don't want to overwhelm you today. So today was about the understanding what are OERs and what are the benefits of the OERs, and bearing in mind that there are challenges. And then we also look at the Creative Commons licensing and understanding the fair use before we embark on creating our own resources that we can share with the public. Right. That was the summary of today's session. Before we close the session and Yeah, before we close this session, we will be announcing part 2 of this session, which is a continuation, as I have mentioned, where we will look at how to create your own OERs. Before I close the session, I just want to check from our audience if there is anyone who haven't registered, who haven't signed up for Seed Delta, because today's session is an extraction of one of the modules. It's one of the content which are covered in the Seed Delta, in the Seed Delta program. Remember, we've got 7 modules there, and this one is coming from module 4 as well as module 2. Yeah, it's module 2, mobilizing resources, as well as module 4, which is enhancing access as well as copyright issues. Right, I want to check if there is anyone who haven't signed up with Seed Delta, because for me, when I looked at the participants, I realized that quite a number of you have attended our previous Seed Delta sessions. So I take that you have signed up, you have taken the pre-test, perhaps you are busy studying the modules. I see that Aleboheng, you've got your hand up. Please unmute your mic, and please feel free to share or ask a question, or you are responding to my question.
Yes, I was responding to your question.
You haven't signed up?
Yes, I have teachers who haven't signed up, yes.
All right, okay.
So I'm with them, so they are logging in with my account. So hence why they are the one who responded to the question that you asked about who has registered and who hasn't.
Thank you so much for that. How many teachers are with you?
I have 5 with me at the moment.
You do have 5. All right. Would you like us to take you through on how to register and the process? What are the benefits of registering?
You can do that now so that they can also know what's in detail with everything.
All right, perfect. Right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in the session. For those who have signed up and feel that it's not valuable for them to listen to the rest of the presentation or the session where we're taking participants through on how to register with Seed Delta platform and what are the benefits of doing so, please feel free to leave the meeting. We will continue. Remember, our session ends at 1:30, so we still have time to do this. Right. All right, so I'm going to stop presenting so that I can open my other presentation, which has the details on how to register. Okay. Just give me a moment. Okay. There you go. Right now, I'm going to share my screen. Right, it's taking time. Please bear with me. You should be able to see my screen now. Please confirm. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. All right, so let's get going. Right, so I'm not going to do the entire presentation. I'll just take you through the steps on how to register, and I'm not going to go to the presentation mode because I will be skipping some of the slides. Right, so with the C Delta, you know, the presentation that we have received or that we have gone through with you, it's part of the C Delta content. So you can imagine how amazing is the content that is available to you free of charge. Right, so we have 7 modules here. Module 1, it looks at developing digital identities and mobilizing resources. That's your module 2. Module 3 is engaging with networks. Then we also have modules which speaks to digital education leadership from module 4 to module 7, which is specifically for educators. Remember, with C Delta, it's both for the students as well as for the teachers. For the students, they can take module 1 to module 3 and complete the course, whereas with the educators, you take module 1 to module 7. Right, so I'm now going to go through the process on how to register. But before I go through that process on how to register, if you study the course, you receive 35 CPTD SACE endorsed points plus a C Delta International Recognized Certificate. So there are 2 certificates for you in completion. It's the one for SACE, that is when you have completed all the 7 modules and you send to us the post-test. For example, when you sign up, you are required to take on the pre-test. Once you have completed the pre-test, remember the pre-test is your baseline, which gauge how much you know, or which identify your learning needs as per the course, so that you don't necessarily having to study what you already know. That is your baseline. So please don't feel bad if you do not pass the pre-test. It means you what does it mean? If you don't pass the pre-test, if you fail the pre-test, it means that you need to spend more time on the modules for you to close your learning gaps in terms of the content offerings, right? Once you have completed the 7 modules, then you take the post-test. With the post-test, you need to pass it, right? And receive a certificate which is recognized internationally. Now, once you've got your C Delta post-test certificate, you send to SchoolNet. Then SchoolNet, it's a validation that you have completed the course. Then we can issue with the SACE endorsed certificate, right? Then you got your 35 hooping points. Now let me now do the slide presentation on this one. Now, for you to register on the C Delta platform, this is the URL, right? You can take a screenshot of this URL. Zotumo is also going to paste it in our chat so that you can see, you can easily click on it, and then it will take you to this form. Right, so this is cdelta.col.org. That is where you register, right? Now, it will take you to this form where you will need to type in your first name, your last name. Please use your real name here. And then the email, you need to use your active email. It should be, you should know the password of your email, because once you register, they would send you a link, which is which allows you to activate your account, right? So you need to provide your email. Now, password, this is very important when it comes to the password. With the password, they are not asking you to type in the password for your email. They are asking you to create a password which you would use to access the C Delta platform. Now, with the password, it should have 8 characters, which consist of a capital letter, small letters, numbers, right? And a symbol. So there should be these 4: capital letter, small letters, numbers, and a symbol, plus 8 characters. That's very important. Otherwise, it won't allow you to register. Also note that the platform is case sensitive. So it's important, especially when it comes to your email. When you type in your email, ensure that you type your email as it is. Where there's a cap, you type in the cap. Where is a small letter, you type in a small letter. And you should remember this, because when you need to sign in after you have registered, you need to key in your email exactly as how you have punched it when you were registering. All right. Another important element here is that of joining the course. There are 2 options here, which is to join the course as an individual or join the course as part of the project group or organization. Right. In this instance, please do not choose as an individual. Select as part of the organization or as part of the project group. Now, when you select that, you will be presented with a list of schools, organizations. Don't look for your school. You won't find it. Even if you find it, you don't need to click on it. You need to click on SchoolNet South Africa, right? That's very important, right? And then you choose I'm not a robot. Select user type. There is an option to register as student or to register as a teacher or as a practitioner. So you would select a teacher or practitioner. Then you click on register. One mistake, you would need to start again completing or filling in the form. So that is the registration process. Now let me mention this. You'll find that you have registered, you went to your email, you click on the link to activate your account. When you come back to the website to sign in, you enter your credentials, which is your email as well as your newly created password. You'll see a message which says invalid credentials. And then you wonder, what happened? What did I do wrong? Because I have typed all the information correctly. That's very common. We are familiar with that challenge. Don't be upset. Try again. If you are not winning, try to go to private window and enter the URL, which is the cdelta.col.org, on a private window or incognito window. If that, again, if you are not winning, if that fails, try to use someone else's device, either a cell phone, tablet, or laptop. What is really lovely about the registration on C Delta is that you can register using your cell phone. As we speak, the moment I finish, you can go to your cell phone, register, and you are registered. Once you have registered, then you need to take on a pre-test, which is which is compulsory or which is mandatory. If you are struggling with the registration, here's the link to a video registration guide, which takes you through the registration process. You can take a screenshot of this slide again, so that you do have this link should you struggle with the registration. Right, now I'm going to move forward, hoping that you have managed to take a photograph of this slide. Right, now once you've successfully logged in, this is your dashboard. That's where you take the pre-test here. That's, you click here to take on your pre-test. Then where it says modules, that's where you study different modules. Now with the post-test, it's not mandatory that you need to complete all 7. You can attempt a post-test at any stage, you know, just to test the waters. With, okay, how are the questions like for the post-test, so that you can, you know, you can pay more attention to the questions that are included with post-test. Right. And then when it comes to your scores, as you can see, this is your score, all your scores for each and every attempt you make, either at the pre-test or the post-test, it will display here. And what is lovely here is that with the pre-test, you can retake as much as you need. So to improve your score, same as the post-test, you can retake the post-test if you are not happy or you are not satisfied with your score. Right, I'm going to stop here and allow for questions. Questions? All is clear.
Hi, Slingiwe.
Hi.
You are speaking to Patience. I tried to open the form of registration, and there is a point where they say university enrollment number. Which one is that?
Okay, thanks so much for bringing that up. Just ignore, leave that blank.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Patience.
All right.
Any other questions? Any other questions, colleagues? Right, please do keep us posted. How is it going with your registrations? Please email uzodumo@schoolnet.org.za. She's going to paste her email address in the chat. Any queries whatsoever, you feel free to email us. Right. And when you have completed your post-test, send the post-test screenshot certificate to Zodumo so that she can issue with your SACE endorsed certificate. Thank you so much for joining in. If there are no further questions, yeah, that's the end of our session today. Do follow us on our social media so that you can check our upcoming training sessions.